The sound of porcelain shattering against marble echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Amaka froze. Her hands trembled around the silver tray she was holding as she stood halfway between the kitchen and the living room. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure they could hear it. Then came the voice, sharp, cold, filled with disgust. Look at you, Vanessa Okoye spat. A grown man crawling on my floor like a useless child. Daniel Okoye lay on the living room floor, his legs twisted beneath him, his wheelchair overturned beside the leather sofa. His palms were scraped raw as he tried and failed to push himself up. His eyes met Amaka's, and in that moment she saw something that would haunt her forever. Shame. Don't just stand there staring, Amaka, Vanessa snapped without even looking at the maid. Come and see what your master has turned into. Daniel swallowed hard. Vanessa, please, he whispered. I just wanted to get to the window. She laughed, not a soft laugh, not an embarrassed laugh, a cruel one. You wanted to get to the window? She repeated mockingly. With what? These useless legs? She nudged his overturned wheelchair with her heel. Amaka's chest tightened. She had been working in the Okoye house for only 3 months, but she had never seen this side of her madame so openly. Vanessa crouched in front of Daniel, lowering her voice, yet somehow making it more vicious. Stand up, she said. Stand up like a real man. Daniel's lips trembled. I can't. Exactly. She stood and clapped once. This, she announced loudly, is what happens when a woman marries a man who can no longer provide. Before we go any further, if you enjoy deep, emotional African stories with shocking twists, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment below. If you believe love should not die because of disability, your support helps stories like this reach more people. Marka looked away, ashamed, not of Daniel, but of the cruelty unfolding before her. Daniel had once been strong. She knew that. Sometimes late at night, she heard him coughing softly in the guest room. Yes, guest room, because Vanessa no longer shared a bed with him. Sometimes she saw old photographs lying face down in drawers. Daniel in a hard hat, Daniel beside skyscrapers, Daniel smiling beside Vanessa when she still smiled back. Now, here he was, on the floor, broken. Vanessa turned to Amaka. Why are you pitying him? She asked. Did I hire you to feel sorry for useless men? No, madam, Amaka replied quickly. Good, help him up. Hope flickered in Daniel's eyes. Then Vanessa finished her sentence. Help him back into his wheelchair, so he doesn't embarrass me again. The hope died. As Amaka gently lifted Daniel, she felt his body tense, not from pain, but from humiliation. I'm sorry, he whispered. She shook her head. It's not your fault, sir, Vanessa scoffed. Everything is his fault. She picked up her phone, scrolling. Do you know what people say about me at the club? She continued casually. They ask why a woman like me is married to a man who can't even walk. She paused. Sometimes I ask myself the same question. Later that night, as Daniel lay awake staring at the ceiling, he whispered words no one else heard. They think I am finished, but they don't know what is coming. And somewhere in Lagos, a phone rang, a call that would change everything. The rain had been falling since dawn that day, the kind of Lagos rain that turned roads into mirrors and patience into a luxury. Daniel Okoye remembered it clearly, every second, 2 years earlier. Daniel gripped the steering wheel of his black Lexus as traffic crawled along the Third Mainland Bridge. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat, lighting up with Vanessa's name. He sighed before answering. Yes, Vanessa. You're still at work? Her voice snapped through the speaker. I told you, the site inspection ran late. The Ikoyi project has a... I don't care about your stupid buildings, Daniel. She cut in. We have dinner with Chief Balogun tonight. Do you know how embarrassing it is to arrive without my husband? Daniel glanced at the dashboard clock. I'll make it. I promise. You always promise. The call ended. Daniel exhaled slowly. At that time, he still believed love was patience. He still believed marriage meant endurance. He didn't know fate was already waiting, cold and unforgiving, just ahead. Daniel Okoye was not always a man on the floor. He was one of Lagos' most respected structural engineers. Graduated top of his class, built award-winning high-rise towers, consulted by multinational firms. Money followed him, respect followed him, and Vanessa followed the lifestyle. They met at a charity gala in Victoria Island. She was stunning, tall, elegant, admired by every man in the room. She loved his ambition. She loved his confidence. She loved how people whispered his name. Back then, the accident didn't happen on the bridge. It happened an hour later on a quiet service road in Ikeja. Daniel's phone rang again. Vanessa. Against his better judgment, he answered. What now? He asked, irritation creeping in. I forgot to tell you, she said casually. I invited some friends too. Don't disappoint me. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I'm driving. So, she snapped, you're always driving. That was when a truck swerved. Daniel saw headlights. He heard metal scream, then darkness. When Daniel opened his eyes, the world was white. White walls, white sheets, white silence. He tried to move. Nothing happened. Panic rushed through him. He looked down. His legs lay still, lifeless, foreign. A doctor stood beside him, eyes heavy with practiced sympathy. Mr. Okoye, the man said gently, you've been unconscious for 3 days. Daniel swallowed. My legs, I can't feel them. The doctor hesitated. That hesitation destroyed him. You suffered severe spinal trauma, the doctor continued. We did everything we could. Daniel's voice shook. Will I walk again? The silence answered before the words did. Vanessa arrived later that evening. She wore designer heels, perfect makeup, no tears. She stood at the foot of his bed, arms crossed. So, she said flatly, this is it? Daniel forced a smile. The doctors say therapy might help. She nodded slowly, not in encouragement, but calculation. How long? I don't know. Her lips tightened. Daniel, do you know what this means for us? He searched her face. For us? He repeated weakly. I almost died. She sighed as if inconvenienced. I married a man who could give me a certain life, she said. Not this. That was the first time he felt truly alone. Months passed. Therapy, pain, hope that slowly bled away. Daniel learned how to sit, how to transfer, how to smile when visitors came. Vanessa stopped coming to therapy sessions, then stopped coming to the hospital entirely. When he was finally discharged, he didn't return to their bedroom. Vanessa had moved his things into the guest room. The wheelchair won't fit properly, she said. That was the excuse. At first, the cruelty was subtle. A sigh when he asked for help, an eye roll when he dropped something, silence when he spoke, then words, then laughter, then public embarrassment. The Daniel who once commanded boardrooms now avoided mirrors. 2 years later, the same man lay awake in the guest room of his own penthouse. The maid had seen him on the floor. The humiliation had crossed a line. And deep inside Daniel, beneath the pain, beneath the silence, something hardened. He reached for his phone with trembling fingers, scrolled, stopped. A name stared back at him. Mr. Adeyemi, a man from his past, a man who owed him everything, a man Vanessa didn't know existed. Daniel pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, then, Daniel Okoye, a deep voice answered. I've been waiting for this call. Daniel closed his eyes. Then it's time, he said. Morning came quietly in Lekki, too quietly. Daniel woke up to the sound of laughter drifting in from the living room. Not his wife's laughter alone, a man's laughter. His chest tightened. The Okoye penthouse overlooked the Atlantic. Glass walls, imported furniture, marble floors. To outsiders, it screamed success. To Daniel, it had become a cage. He maneuvered his wheelchair toward the door, careful not to make noise. The wheels felt heavier than usual, as if the apartment itself resisted him. As he entered the living room, the laughter stopped. Vanessa sat on the sofa, legs crossed, wine glass in hand. Beside her was Kola, one of her regular friends, a fashion entrepreneur who always smiled too widely around her. "Oh," Vanessa said casually, "you're awake?" Daniel forced a nod. "Good morning," stood awkwardly. "Morning, bro." Vanessa didn't introduce them. She never did. "You didn't tell me you had company," Daniel said calmly. Vanessa shrugged. "I don't need permission to invite guests into my house." My house? The word stung. Kola glanced at Daniel's wheelchair, then quickly looked away. "I'll see myself out," he muttered. Vanessa rolled her eyes as he left. "Always making things awkward," she said to Daniel. Honestly. After Kola left, Vanessa stood. "I'm going out," she announced. "To where?" Daniel asked. She paused at the door. "Somewhere I don't have to explain myself." The door slammed. Silence followed. Daniel stared at the door long after she was gone. Once he would have argued. Once he would have demanded respect. Now he swallowed everything. Amaka cleaned quietly, pretending not to notice Daniel watching her. "Sir," she said softly, "should I bring your breakfast?" "Yes, please." She hesitated. "Madam said you should eat in your room." Daniel nodded. "Of course she did." Amaka bit her lip. "Sir, I'm sorry." He gave a weak smile. "Thank you, Amaka." She wheeled him gently back to the guest room. Behind closed doors, Daniel's hands clenched into fists. Vanessa sat in traffic on Ozumba Mbadi Way, scrolling through Instagram, luxury trips, happy couples, strong men. Her reflection stared back at her in the car mirror, still beautiful, still desired. "Why am I trapped?" she thought. She told herself she deserved better, that Daniel's accident was not her burden. She didn't hear the voice deep inside whispering, "Cruelty has a cost." That afternoon, Dr. Ibrahim Lawal arrived for Daniel's home checkup. He examined Daniel carefully. "You've lost weight," he noted. Daniel shrugged. "Food tastes different." Dr. Lawal glanced around the room. "Stress slows recovery," he said pointedly. Daniel gave a sad smile. "Some environments are hostile." The doctor hesitated. "There are experimental treatments abroad," he said quietly. "Advanced spinal procedures." Daniel's heart skipped. "But they're expensive," the doctor added, "and risky." Daniel nodded. "I understand." But hope, dangerous and fragile, sparked again. That evening, Vanessa returned with shopping bags. She dropped one at Daniel's feet. "Hold this," she ordered. The bag slipped from his lap. She laughed. "Useless." Amaka flinched. Daniel closed his eyes. "Why do you hate me?" he asked softly. Vanessa froze. Then she smiled, a cold, practiced smile. "I don't hate you," she said. "I pity you." Those words hurt more than any insult. Later that night, while Vanessa slept, Daniel wheeled himself into the study. He locked the door, called Mr. Adeyemi again. "We need to meet," Daniel said. There was a pause. "Are you ready?" Adeyemi asked. Daniel looked down at his motionless legs. "No," he replied, "but I have no choice." As Daniel ended the call, a shadow moved behind the study door. Amaka had heard everything, and what she heard would change her loyalty forever. The house was quiet, too quiet. Amaka stood frozen outside the study door, her heart pounding so hard she feared it would betray her presence. She had not meant to eavesdrop. But when she heard Daniel's voice, low, urgent, nothing like the defeated tone she was used to, her feet refused to move. "Everything is still in my name," Daniel was saying into the phone. "They think I lost my mind along with my legs." A pause. Yes, he continued. Vanessa doesn't know. No one does. Amaka's breath caught. Everything? Daniel rolled closer to the desk. I need discretion, he said. If this comes out too early, she'll destroy what's left. Another pause. Then Daniel's voice hardened. I didn't survive that accident to die slowly in my own house. The call ended. Silence returned. Amaka staggered back as if struck. She hurried back to the kitchen, hands shaking. Madame must not know, she thought. But another thought followed immediately. Sir Daniel is not weak. He is planning something. For the first time since she started working there, hope flickered in her chest. Not for herself, but for him. Vanessa returned the next morning glowing. She hummed as she sipped coffee, scrolling through her phone. Amaka, she called, bring my blue dress. Amaka obeyed. As she helped Vanessa zip up, Vanessa caught her reflection. Do you know, she said lightly, people still ask about my husband. She laughed. I tell them he's unwell. Amaka said nothing. Vanessa's eyes hardened in the mirror. You're very quiet these days, she said. Don't forget your place. Yes, madam. Later, Amaka found Daniel alone on the balcony, staring at the ocean. Sir, she said softly, the sun is strong. He smiled faintly. I like the heat. It reminds me I'm alive. She hesitated. Sir, last night, Daniel turned sharply. You heard, he said. She nodded, fear flooding her face. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He raised a hand. It's all right. He studied her for a long moment. Do you think I'm weak? He asked. Amaka shook her head vigorously. No, sir, I think you're just waiting. Daniel smiled, this time genuinely. If this story is touching you right now, don't just watch silently. Like this video if you believe kindness matters. Comment below. Should Amaka help Daniel or stay out of it? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Your engagement helps this story reach others who believe cruelty should never win. That evening, Daniel finally spoke. Amaka, he said quietly, the accident was not entirely an accident. Her eyes widened. There were warnings, he continued, threats, people who wanted me out of the way. Because of your work? She asked. He nodded. I trusted the wrong people. Amaka's hands trembled. And Madame? She asked carefully. Daniel looked away. I don't know what she knows, he said, but I know she enjoys my suffering. That night, Vanessa hosted friends. Music played, wine flowed, laughter filled the house. Daniel was wheeled into the living room like furniture. See my husband, Vanessa announced dramatically. He insists on joining us. Her friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. Daniel lowered his eyes. One woman whispered, That's cruel, Vanessa heard. So, she snapped, should I cry forever? The humiliation burned deeper than ever. Amaka watched from the doorway, fists clenched, something inside her snapped. Later, as she helped Daniel back to his room, she whispered, Sir, whatever you are planning, you won't do it alone. Daniel looked at her, surprised. For the first time, he said, I believe that. Upstairs, Vanessa stood by the staircase, watching them. Her eyes narrowed. Suspicion had entered her heart, and once Vanessa suspected, she never stopped digging. The doorbell rang at exactly 7:14 a.m. Not the intercom, not a call, the doorbell. Vanessa frowned as she adjusted her robe. Who comes this early? She muttered. Amaka, already tense from the previous night, wiped her hands and moved toward the door. Before she could reach it, Daniel's voice echoed from the guest room. Let me see who it is. Vanessa turned sharply. Why? Are you suddenly the owner of this house again? Daniel said nothing, but something in his calm unsettled her. When Amaka opened the door, her breath caught. The man standing there wore a simple dark suit. No flashy jewelry, No unnecessary confidence, but his presence filled the space. Good morning, he said politely. I'm looking for Mr. Daniel Okoye. Vanessa stepped forward immediately. I'm his wife, she said. Who are you? The man smiled faintly. Tell him Adeyemi is here. Daniel's hands tightened on his wheelchair. Adeyemi. He hadn't seen him in over 3 years. Let him in, Daniel said. Vanessa's eyes flashed. Are you mad? I said, Daniel repeated evenly. Let him in. The room went still. For the first time in a long while, Vanessa hesitated. Adeyemi stepped inside. He glanced briefly at Daniel's legs, then away. No pity, no shock, only respect. You look thinner, Adeyemi said quietly. Daniel smiled. You look like someone who kept his promises. Adeyemi nodded once. I owe you my life, he replied. Vanessa laughed nervously. This is all very dramatic, she said, but you still haven't explained why. You're here. Adeyemi turned to her. And you must be Mrs. Okoye. She lifted her chin proudly. I am. Adeyemi studied her carefully. I've heard stories. They sat in the living room. Amaka stood nearby, pretending to dust. Years ago, Daniel had taken a risk on Adeyemi, funded his failing logistics company when no one else would. When Daniel was injured, Adeyemi had quietly taken over some of Daniel's offshore interests at Daniel's request. All legal, all secret. Adeyemi leaned forward. Daniel, he said, everything is ready. Vanessa's smile faltered. Everything? She echoed. Ready for what? Daniel met her eyes. For the future. She laughed again, too loudly. Please, she said, my husband can't even move without help. Adeyemi's gaze sharpened. Careful, he warned. Strength does not always work. Silence fell. Vanessa's cheeks burned. Amaka, she snapped, bring tea. As Amaka left, Vanessa leaned toward Daniel. What is this? She hissed. You're embarrassing me. Daniel's voice was calm. You've been doing that for 2 years. Her mouth fell open. Later, Adeyemi pulled Daniel aside. You are in danger here, he said quietly. Your wife is reckless. Daniel nodded. I know. Come with me, Adeyemi urged. We can arrange care, protection. Daniel glanced toward the stairs, toward Vanessa's world. Not yet, he said. She needs to see what she's done. Adeyemi studied him, then nodded. From the staircase, Vanessa watched them whisper. Her heart raced. What is Daniel hiding? She wondered. That night, she searched his study. Drawers, files, emails. She found nothing. But fear had already taken root. As Adeyemi prepared to leave, he turned to Amaka. You are loyal, he said simply. She nodded, startled. Stay that way, he added. Vanessa watched, suspicion burning in her eyes. When the door closed, she turned to Daniel. You're plotting something, she said. Daniel met her gaze. No, he replied. I'm surviving. That night, Vanessa made a phone call of her own. If he thinks he can rise again, she said coldly, then I'll make sure he never does. At home, Daniel received a delivery, a sleek modern wheelchair, custom-built, discreet, powerful. Vanessa watched as he tested it. Where did that come from? She asked sharply. A friend, Daniel replied. She scoffed. Another pity gift? He smiled. No, he said, an investment. Later, Amaka whispered to Daniel, Madame is scared. Daniel nodded. Good, he said softly. Fear makes people careless. Desperate, Vanessa invited guests again. She wanted witnesses, control, an audience. During dinner, she raised her glass. To resilience, she said mockingly, eyes on Daniel. To living with limitations. The room went quiet. Daniel raised his own glass. To character, he replied. It's the one thing accidents can't damage. A few guests smiled. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Humiliation. Hers this time. That night, Kunle finally called. Vanessa, he said urgently, stop digging. Why? she snapped. Because Daniel Okoye is not who you think he is. She laughed nervously. He's a cripple. Kunle paused. No, he said. He's a survivor. Vanessa stared at her phone. For the first time in her life, she wondered if she had chosen the wrong enemy. Dr. Ibrahim Lawal arrived that morning with someone new. A tall man, grey at the temples, foreign accent. This is Dr. Marcus Klein, Dr. Lawal said. He's in Lagos for a medical conference. Daniel studied the man. Spinal reconstruction, Dr. Klein said simply. Experimental, but promising. Daniel's breath caught. Vanessa, standing nearby, laughed sharply. So now we're doing miracles? She mocked. Dr. Klein ignored her. I reviewed your scans, he said to Daniel. You are a rare candidate. Rare? Daniel asked. Strong neural response despite time. Elapsed, Klein replied. In simple terms, you didn't give up. Daniel closed his eyes. Hope hurt. There is a cost, Dr. Klein continued. Financial, physical, emotional. Vanessa leaned against the wall. And success? She asked coldly. Dr. Klein met her gaze. Nothing is guaranteed, he said, but improvement is possible. She scoffed. Possible is not enough. Daniel looked at her. It is for me. Later, alone with Amaka, Daniel whispered, What if I fail again? Amaka shook her head. Then you would have tried, she said. Some people never do. Her words steadied him. That night, Vanessa made another call. If he walks, she said quietly, everything changes. The voice on the other end responded, Then don't let him. Vanessa closed her eyes. I'll handle it. Adiemi visited secretly. Take the surgery, he urged. We'll move you abroad quietly. Daniel shook his head. Not yet. Adiemi frowned. You're risking everything. Daniel's voice was firm. She needs to fall on her own cruelty. Vanessa couldn't help herself. At a brunch with friends, she laughed loudly. Daniel might walk again, she announced. Can you imagine? Her friends gasped. She waved a hand dismissively. Don't worry, I won't hold my breath. Word spread. Pressure mounted. That night, Daniel signed the consent forms, not for the surgery, for something else. Amaka watched silently. What is that? She asked. A transfer of control, Daniel replied. Of what? Everything. As Vanessa slept, dreaming of freedom, Daniel prepared to take it from her. Amaka looked at Daniel. You look different, she said. I am, he replied. So are you. She swallowed. What happens now? Daniel smiled faintly. Now, he said, we see who stays loyal when the lights change. Later that day, Vanessa arrived at a charity event. She expected applause. Instead, whispers followed her. Isn't that Daniel Okoye's wife? I heard he's back. She treated him badly, didn't she? Vanessa smiled through clenched teeth, pride cracking. Her phone buzzed. Mrs. Okoye, the banker said, there's been a freeze on certain accounts. Her heart dropped. By whose authority? She demanded. There was a pause. Mr. Daniel Okoye. That night, Vanessa confronted him. You're ruining me, she hissed. Daniel looked at her calmly. I'm revealing you. She slapped the table. I carried your name, and I carried your cruelty, he replied. Vanessa stared at him, shaking. For the first time, the crippled man she mocked was standing above her, even without standing. Secrets rot quietly, until the smell becomes impossible to ignore. By the time Vanessa realized hers were exposed, the damage was already irreversible. Daniel did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply opened a folder. Printed documents slid across the table. Hotel receipts, private messages, transfer records. Vanessa stared at them. Her mouth went dry. You invaded my privacy, she whispered. Daniel's eyes were cold. You invaded my dignity. You didn't just mock me, Daniel continued calmly. You sold me. Her head snapped up. What are You talking about? He pointed to one document. A consulting firm you contacted 6 months after my accident, he said. Men connected to the same group that tried to silence me years ago. Vanessa shook her head. I didn't know, she whispered. You asked for my weaknesses, Daniel replied, and you were paid for them. The room spun. Amaka stood frozen by the door. Madam, is this true? Vanessa's silence answered. Amaka's eyes filled with tears. Daniel pressed play. Vanessa's voice filled the room. If he can't walk, he's useless to me. Do whatever you want. Just make sure he never rises again. The recording ended. Silence screamed. I was angry, Vanessa screamed. I was trapped. You ruined my life first. Daniel's voice was soft. No, he said. I survived. You chose cruelty. Adeyemi entered quietly. The board has reviewed everything, he said. Your name is being removed from all affiliations. Vanessa collapsed into a chair. No, no, please. Daniel looked at her. This is what accountability feels like. Later that night, police arrived, not with drama, with purpose. Vanessa watched as documents were signed. She was not arrested, not yet, but she was no longer protected. As Vanessa sat alone in the dark, stripped of power, one question haunted her. What will he do next? The day Daniel Oke was wheeled into the operating theater, Lagos did not stop moving. Traffic still roared. Markets still buzzed. People still laughed and argued and lived. But in a quiet private hospital on the island, everything was about to change. Bright lights, cold air. Daniel lay still as nurses prepared him. Dr. Marcus Klein leaned closer. This will be painful, he said honestly, and it will not be instant. Daniel nodded. I've lived with pain, he replied. I'm ready for truth. Somewhere in the hallway, Adeyemi waited. So did Amaka. Across town, Vanessa sat alone in a small serviced apartment. No penthouse, no driver, no assistants, just her phone. She stared at the news headline, Disgraced socialite's husband undergoes high-risk surgery. Her fingers trembled. For the first time she prayed, not for Daniel to fail, but for him to forgive. The surgery lasted 9 hours. 9 hours of silence. 9 hours of waiting. When Dr. Klein finally emerged, his face was unreadable. Adeyemi stood immediately. Well, he asked. Dr. Klein removed his mask. He responded, he said, better than expected. Tears filled Amaka's eyes. 2 days later, Daniel sat in recovery. Pain etched his face. Dr. Lawal stood beside him. Try, he said gently. Daniel closed his eyes, focused. His right toe twitched, just once. The room froze. Amaka covered her mouth to stifle a sob. Daniel laughed, then cried. The video leaked, a short clip, just a toe, just a movement. It went viral. Millions watched. Comments flooded in. Strength is not in the legs. Disability does not erase dignity. Karma has a name. Vanessa saw it and broke. She went to the hospital. No makeup, no pride, no guards. She stood at Daniel's doorway. May I come in? She asked softly. Daniel looked at her for a long time. Yes, he said. She stepped in. I don't expect forgiveness, she whispered. I just needed you to know. I see you now. Daniel nodded. That's enough, he said. As Vanessa turned to leave, Daniel spoke one last sentence that stopped her cold. Tomorrow, he said, the truth becomes public. Morning sunlight streamed through the hospital window as Daniel Okoye sat upright in bed, supported by braces and strength earned through suffering. His legs were still weak, but his spirit stood taller than it ever had. Adeyemi entered quietly, holding a tablet. It's live, he said. Daniel nodded. Let it be. By noon, every major blog, radio station, and social media page in Lagos carried the same headline. The Rise of Daniel Okoye, Engineer, Survivor, and the Truth Behind a Cruel Marriage. Videos followed, recordings, documents, witness accounts, not revenge, truth. The world learned how a man was mocked for his disability, how dignity was stripped behind closed doors, how cruelty hid behind beauty and status, and how patience waited. Support poured in. Disability rights groups hailed Daniel as a symbol of resilience. Young men messaged him privately, "You saved my life." Women wrote, "Your strength taught us empathy." The narrative shifted. Power no longer belonged to noise, but to endurance. Vanessa watched it all from a small room with bare walls, no mirrors. She didn't need one. Her phone rang once, then stopped. No one called again. Later that evening, she received an official notice: a lawsuit, civil charges, permanent separation. She sat down slowly. For the first time in her life, she felt invisible, and for the first time, she understood what she had done. Days later, Vanessa requested one final meeting. Daniel agreed. She stood before him, no makeup, no pride left to protect. "I thought power meant control," she said quietly, "but I was wrong." Daniel listened. "You had everything," she continued, "and I destroyed it with my hands." Daniel nodded. "Consequences are not punishment," he said. "They are lessons." She lowered her head. "I'm sorry." Daniel paused, then said gently, "I forgive you, but forgiveness does not erase accountability." She nodded and walked away. This time forever. Months later, Daniel stood, supported but standing, on a small stage in Lagos. Amaka sat in the front row, tears streaming freely. "This foundation," Daniel said into the microphone, "is for those whose voices were ignored because their bodies were broken." Applause erupted. Not pity, respect. That evening, Daniel stood on the balcony, overlooking the city that once swallowed him. The ocean shimmered. The city breathed. He smiled, not because he could walk again, but because he never stopped being human. In African wisdom, strength is not measured by the body, but by the soul. Those who mock the fallen forget that the ground remembers every footstep. Cruelty may feel powerful, but patience always outlives it. If this story moved you, subscribe for more deep emotional African stories. Like this video to support disability awareness. Comment, what lesson touched you the most? Share this story. Someone needs to hear it today.